It's far too soon to measure the impact, if any, of Me Too. It'll be years before we have the data and the historical hindsight to be able to make those calls. But a few things have been happening. The Time's Up Legal Fund, launched by actresses and directors and other Hollywood artists, specifically in response to the Me Too moment of October 2017, has already raised millions in funding and fielded over 500 attorneys to offer legal assistance to victims of sexual abuse and harassment on the workplace. And the priority have been cases involving low-wage workers and people of color and people from the LGBT community and other vulnerable communities. And the law has been taking notice too. Increased focus on sexual harassment might be shifting perceptions in the political sphere. If politicians know that their constituents are paying attention to these issues and demanding change, sexual abuse may start playing a bigger role in political platforms. Several states have already passed laws aimed at protecting vulnerable workers against harassment. Washington, Tennessee, Vermont, Maryland have banned confidentiality agreements from employment contracts, clauses that prevented victims from speaking up about sexual harassment in the workplace. Maryland in particular requires companies with more than 50 employees to report the numbers of sexual harassment claims they settled. And they'll also have to report the number of claims settled in the past decade against the same employee, and the number of settlements that included a non-disclosure agreement. Delaware, Illinois, California, they've expanded sexual harassment training and education. When the law comes into effect, many employers will be required to train their employees about what constitutes sexual harassment. And investment banks have started advising their clients to include Weinstein clauses or require Me Too representations in deals. These are statements that attest to the fact that no managers or directors have been accused of sexual harassment, and some companies have even won the right to claw back money from a merger if subsequent Me Too allegations erupt after the deal. The publisher Simon & Schuster even went so far as to include a morality clause to contracts this year. These contracts mean that now the publisher can require authors accused of sexual misconduct to return their advance. Now, correlation isn't causation, but Emily Martin, a VP at the National Women's Law Center, has said, "I would be surprised if any of these laws passed or were even introduced in the absence of the Me Too movement."
Several pertaining to sexual harassment. One of these laws is somewhat similar to the New York law prohibiting employers from requiring employees to agree to non-disclosure provisions in agreements settling sexual harassment allegations.